Okay, today I'll be talking about the double mind condition of Yakuza, as well as the government's reaction towards Yakuza. And the idea is kind of honorable illegality, which is in and of itself an oxymoron. So, so here's my table of contents. First, I'm going to discuss what Yakuza are, and I'm going to talk about their code, and then the types of criminal activities that they participate in, how they serve as community watchdogs, and then the increased government pressure on them as of late, and then finally my sources. So what are Yakuza? So they're members of mafia-like organizations within Japan that kind of serve under larger umbrellas within Japanese society. How it kind of works is basically most prefectures have kind of one or maybe a couple of bigger umbrella organizations that Yakuza groups operate under within them. And even within those groups, there are different hierarchies that I'll talk about in the next slide. And so you can kind of identify a Yakuza member generally by full body tattoos, as you can see here with these gentlemen. And then they also tend to wear formal suits if they're men, or traditional kimonos with women, but that's not always the case. And it tends to reflect their belief in traditional values that they try to enforce. And so Yakuza generally function outside of the law, but historically they've been allowed to operate and kind of loopholed in by the police and the government, as I'll talk about in one of my future slides. So we're going to discuss the Yakuza code here, or their honor system that they operate under. So the Yakuza function in a hierarchical system, as I mentioned earlier. There's kind of the larger umbrella corporations or groups for each district, or each kind of about one each prefecture in Japan. And then under those are smaller Yakuza groups, and within those groups there's kind of the older or more experienced members, or the oyabun, which kind of translates to parent, or the younger, less experienced members, and the kobun. And so kind of how it works is an oyabun will generally take a kobun or a couple of kobun under their wing and kind of teach them how to follow the Yakuza code and how to stay under the radar basically and avoid the government's intervention. And as you can see right here with this picture, here's some Ronin. The Yakuza are generally, or most Yakuza believe that they are descended from the Ronin, which is why they have such a strict honor code amongst themselves. And their honor code can basically be summed up with the idea that non-violence, or that they should always go for non-violence when it comes to innocent people, or avoid trying to hurt people who are weaker than them or below them. And so Yakuza members who break that code, or in other cases, Yakuza members who disrespect the hierarchy, such as kobuns not following the orders of their oyabuns, typically get punished. There are several penalties that a Yakuza member can face for breaking their code. As you can see right here, one of the most common punishments is getting your pinky finger cut off. And this guy must have done two really bad things to get both pinky fingers cut off. And then if you commit a really, really heinous crime, for example, anything that preys on innocent people, such as murder, petty theft, mugging, you could even end up getting killed by the other Yakuza members. And in recent years, they've kind of stopped this pinky cutting sort of penalty, but they still do execute. But additionally, they've started to banish and blacklist Yakuza members who break their code. And so now we're going to contrast this to the way they view the legal code of where they live. So there are several criminal activities that Yakuzas partake in, including extortion, blackmail, smuggling, facilitating prostitution, which if you don't know is illegal in Japan, but they find loopholes around it. Loan sharking, which is basically where one individual owes another group or individual a loan, and then they basically hire someone, typically in Japan, many times a Yakuza, to go beat that person up to get their money. Facilitating gambling, which, while pachinko and horse races are legal, most forms of gambling are illegal in Japan, including blackjack, which you can see right there. And racketeering, which is basically when you extort or blackmail a company to get some sort of gain, usually financial, but it can be like to make political action or have them donate to a cause. So as you can see, there are several criminal activities they allow within the Yakuza, but there are several that they obviously, or as I mentioned earlier, do not, such as murder of innocent people, assault, mugging, and petty theft. And then right here I got a picture of a more recent crime that's been committed by many Yakuza, and that is scalping. They've been buying up a lot of things and reselling them, such as Pokemon cards. So while the Yakuza tend to follow their own code very strictly and have severe punishments for them, they believe they are above the law, which is in and of itself a double mind condition, because they really value the idea of honor and following a code, but at the same time they don't believe that they are held accountable by the code of the place, of the prefectures they live in. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about the government itself and how it responds to the Yakuza. So police and the government have historically worked with and tolerated the Yakuza And this is for one main reason, and that's that the Yakuza tend to scare off or intimidate petty criminals. So if I were a petty criminal, why would I want to, let's say, mug somebody in a place that is obviously owned by or operated under by a bunch of Yakuza? It automatically keeps a lot of innocent people safe by keeping Yakuza around. And while Yakuza do commit a lot of crimes, most of them tend to be victimless, as their honor code states. So the police and the government have found them to be beneficial, even if they come with their own set of problems. And then, as you can see with like this picture right here, I think this was the 2011 tsunami in Japan, or like some relief efforts. Yakuza members tend to help with a lot of humanitarian efforts in Japan, specifically when it comes to disaster relief. With both the 2011 tsunami and the 1995 Kobe earthquake, many Yakuza members were the first to help provide aid, shelter, food, and water to people who were impacted by those disasters, even before many first responders in Japan. And as you can see up here, many Yakuza have historically been allowed to own businesses as long as they just state it openly. However, with the 1992 anti-gangster law, a lot of Yakuza behavior was kind of clamped down on more by the government. Specifically, Yakuza were labeled an actual official title for like organized crime members in Japan, which gave the law more room to prosecute them. And that led to a decrease in Yakuza membership, but that was even further decreased by the Yakuza exclusion ordinances of 2011. And with these ordinances, any business, bank, or group that was found to work with the Yakuza was automatically ineligible for government aid or government funds, government sponsorship, or working with the Japanese government at all. So it led to many businesses kind of just outright excluding any business with the Yakuza. And it's definitely led to a decrease in the amount of money Yakuza have been making. And so this has led to consistently dwindling numbers. There were about 180,000 Yakuza members in the 60s, but after these two ordinances, it's dropped down to about under 20,000. And so as you can see, the government itself has a double mind condition when it comes to viewing the Yakuza, because while the Yakuza have many benefits that they provide to the communities that they work, that they operate within, they also tend to scare off many incoming businesses, especially those who like hear about the Yakuza but don't really understand them that well. And they also obviously commit many crimes such as illegal casinos, illegal prostitution rings, etc. And in a way, it's kind of a cycle where the Yakuza, the 1992 anti-gangster law was kind of passed with the idea that the Yakuza were committing too many petty thefts, petty crimes, even though that's against their code. And in a way, it's like all these laws getting passed have kind of forced the Yakuza to commit more petty crimes to make more money because they're making less money through legal means, which in turn has led to more laws being passed. So it's kind of a cycle between both of them. But yeah, both groups have, both the government and the Yakuza have both displayed a double mind condition that have in many ways opposed and further caused double mind conditions of each other. Alright, here are my sources. Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you mentioned like how there were often like victimless crimes that they were committing, but then you also listed like prostitution elsewhere. Would you say like prostitution is a victimless crime, or?
That's not my personal belief. I believe that like all of the crimes they're committing do have victims, even if they aren't direct. But according to the Yakuza themselves, if there's no direct victim, or specifically if their victim isn't someone innocent in their eyes, then they don't count it as a crime of it.
Were there any like interesting fun facts that you didn't expect to find when doing your research?
I mean, the membership was kind of crazy, hearing how it dropped from like 180,000 to under 20,000. That was probably the most notable one. And then a lot of times, I read that some Yakuza struggle to get back into society afterwards, especially like if they have their pinky cut off, it's like, oh, you're a Yakuza member. But there's been more efforts, or like I saw a lot of news articles about people helping Yakuza members reintegrate into society, so I found that very heartwarming.
And can anyone like be a part of the Yakuza? Like, how would that even work? You know what I'm saying?
They tend to try to avoid government officials, unless it comes to like allowing, especially recently, they've been trying to avoid associating with government people associated with the government. So if you have a government job, I'm assuming there's no contact. Otherwise, I'm guessing you could just join.
I had a question. I thought that they had to tell the government, like the local government, that they were Yakuza.
They got rid of that with the 1992 Act.
So
So that was more of a thing back when they were like at their peak in the 60s to the 80s.
And does that come with like disadvantages to do that? Like
For one of them to own a business.
to get the like the title of Yakuza, like yourself as a
Yeah, you're like basically part of a government titled like terrorist organization. Like they view you as a terrorist now. So.
Did you find anything in like regards to how the public perceives the relationship between the government and the Yakuza? Is it like a favorable outcome or not really?
Most people are fine with it, from what I could find, but many big businesses hate it because like oftentimes they'll extort big businesses because they, in a way, they have a Robin Hood complex where they think that we're taking money from the rich but we're pushing it back into the community. So they would often find dirt on high profile individuals and blackmail them. So often higher class people or higher economic class people didn't like them that much.
Is there a specific demographic of people that join the Yakuza? Like, or people who are
Tends to be single people. That's the most. But I mean, there's both men and women. So. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what got you interested in the Yakuza?
There are many popular culture media. For example, there's a video game series called Yakuza. And I saw a movie called, I think it's Anti-Extortion Woman. It's a Japanese movie. And it was about how they were harassed in a hotel. So,
As someone not from Japan, do you feel that there might even be a need for Yakuza? That they're so prevalent in society throughout the years that it's almost without them. They act outside. I mean, obviously, with crime, they don't need to exist if they're committing crime. But in the sake of acting outside of like a law enforcement perspective, do you think that they kind of exist?
I mean, as I said earlier, there's many benefits to it, and I feel like it often, from what I could find, it seems like more innocents were saved or spared because of their existence. So I guess I would prefer them over the petty crime that was going on, that goes on with other persons.
Oh, actually, would you maybe compare them to like biker gangs in the U.S. that are like notorious for like, oh, I'll go beat up like a cheating ex-boyfriend for you, or like especially like Hell's Angels are like notorious for like donating to charity and that kind of thing.
I don't know that much about biker gangs in the U.S., but a lot of Yakuza members do donate to charity, or at least in the past have donated to charities and helped with humanitarian efforts. Maybe.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.